to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. Today we're talking about blogging, specifically how to leverage your blog to help grow your business. I think many of us fall into one of two camps, right? We have the people who hate writing, dread the idea of blogging, and then possibly do it anyway, even though it's a chore. And then there's others, like I'm thinking of Carla Aston and Leslie Carruthers and Darla Powell, who love writing, are good at it, and their blogs are amazing, and it's their passion projects, right? So we have the different types of personalities out there and skill sets, but my guest today says that regardless if we treat it as a passion project and we enjoy it or we're trudging through it, we run the risk of falling into the number one mistake that she finds that designers make with their blogs. Okay. My guest today is Fiona Mostyn of Deco Marketing. Deco Marketing creates digital marketing and PR solutions specifically tailored to you, interior designers, and home decor brands. Fiona helps businesses in the design and home industry with digital content strategies to increase engagement, raise brand visibility, and grow their customer base. Today, she's going to share with us that big mistake that you might be making with your blog, and she's also going to share ways your blog can help your business thrive and how to use your blog correctly. Before we get to that conversation, I want to say thank you to Kravet, our show sponsor. Kravet is always working to make finding quality home furnishings and fabrics easier for you. On their website, you can quickly access all of your tools, account setting, price lists, current and past orders, and more. You can also search specifically by color with Kravet's advanced color search, which allows you to create the exact custom color you are looking for and get filtered search results that best match your selection. Visit Kravet.com today and see it for yourself. And be sure to set up your trade account at Kravet.com. Keep in mind, you can have 10% off any one order that you place on Kravet fabric, wallpaper, or trim. You can use the code AWDB10 and get 10% off. All right, let me introduce you to Fiona, and let's talk about leveraging your blog to grow your business. Hi, Fiona. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, Luann. Thank you so much. I'm so pleased to be here.
I am too, Fiona, because you see, what I love the type of shows that we're going to have today where you have a service that any of us who are interested can hire you for that service, and especially when it's a service that's tedious to do and we takes time out of our day in order to do it and all of the things. But you also are an expert in this, which is blog writing, and you're going to give us enough ideas and tips that if we're like, hey, I'm writing my own blogs now, I need some ideas and tips, then we're good, right?
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, you are a specific expert in writing blogs for interior design services. That's the other thing I forgot to tell you I love. I love when I find experts, or they find me in the case like you, that really niche into our industry because the information is just that little bit extra. So get us started, Fiona. What do you want to open the conversation with in regarding maybe best practices for blog writing or starting a blog or revitalizing a blog? Where do we want to take this?
Okay, so I'm really passionate about blogging and how blogging can help you to build your business. I only work with interior designers and home decor brands, and I've literally written hundreds and hundreds of blogs. I mean, I've written over 100 blogs just for one particular designer.
Wow.
When I started looking at, offering the service more and started, more people started coming to me asking me about, what should I write about in my blog? And, should I start a blog, and asking me all those questions. How will a blog help my business? And I started looking at people's blogs, and I started realizing that people think, oh, right, a blog is something I must do, but they didn't really approach it with a goal in mind. And anything you do in your business, right, you have a goal in mind. You set yourself a task and you think, right, I want this to achieve this, and this is what I'm going to do to get it. So they were really approaching their blog writing as some kind of creative writing, sort of outpouring their emotions about design and talking about things that they liked, and not really understanding that their blog could be a really, really powerful tool in building their business and positioning them as an authoritative expert in their field.
So I'm hearing that. Like, I mean, listen, it's an entire audience full of creatives. And if we are inclined to finally sit down and write something, I get it. I can totally get that knee-jerk reaction of writing this beautifully crafted, as you said, pouring your heart out blog about a project that you're passionate about or whatever it might be. But you're saying to us that that's not what converts. Is that the thing, Fiona?
Yeah, I'm saying you need to really think about when you're writing your blog, you need to really think about, what you want that blog to achieve. Okay, so I think there's really five key things that you can think that a blog will do for you, and you should start with this in mind when you start writing. So you want your blog to help you appear into search, and so that when people type things in Google, it's going to be there. You want it to help you capture emails and generate leads. So you have to craft it in a way that it will include the ability to do that for you. Ideally, you want it to sell something off the page. You want someone to just buy that thing that you're selling, or you want it to drive lots of traffic. So you want to use it as a piece of content that you can use up in other areas like social media, that people go, yeah, I want to read more about this. So you've got that, that outward social media that you're putting out there with this topics that you know that your audience is interested in. Finally, it can really position you as an expert in your field. I think what people don't understand is that you need to talk about the things that you want in your business. Okay, I always say to people, you need to talk about the business that you want. If you are a designer and you live in a city and your clients are going to be professional couples in apartments, then and that's the business that you want, you need to talk about that. If you live in a more rural area where space isn't such an issue, so you're not talking about carving out space and making more practical lifestyle. Maybe the homes are much bigger and people are more family orientated. They want that huge kitchen with the inside out, living, dining area, all of that. You need to talk about that if that's the business that you want. You need to kind of create this ideal client that's going to be the people that you want to work with. So by talking about that, that's the business that you want. Your blog really gives you an opportunity to do that.
So, and that is so important. It's funny because I've been working with one of my chairman of the board clients, Denise, and she is an exceptional kitchen designer. But you know what? Kitchen and bath, but she also does full service. But we had a conversation. I said, if you could only pick one type of project to do for the next year, is there one type? And she's like, oh, kitchen design, hands down. I'm like, this is what you write about then, right? Exactly to your point, right?
Yeah, exactly that. You speak to your ideal client. I also have sometimes clients come to me and they're like, well, I'm getting this kind of business and this is the kind of business that I do. But I'm like, but is that the business that you want? If you want to, elevate your business to get the clients that you want, you need to think about who that person is and then start speaking to them in their language, which is what your blog allows you to do. So I really think niching is the key to a successful business. And, talk about your niche, be your niche, know everything about your niche. And I heard a phrase, I mean, you're an amazing marketer, Luana, and I think you're going to love this. So I heard a phrase the other day that was just absolute gold dust about niching. I'm going to share it with you now. You tell me what you think. So the phrase is, niche down so much that you're not only the best option for your people, you're the only option.
Whoa, right? That is. You're the one standing there. Where else would they go? Who else would they call but you, right?
Yeah. So in that sense, you talk about the business that you do and the business that you do so well and the business that you want to do so well. And in doing that, this is what creates a waiting list of clients who are the people that you want to work with, not just any jobs that you're taking to, pay the bills, but the people that you want to work with on a waiting list, commanding the fees that you really want to charge.
And we can do this in so many ways. I'm also coming to mind is Janelle Fitopoulos from Blakely Interior Design. She designs with color. This is her thing. She loves color. She designs with color. And I'm telling you, there are others that design with color. I'm thinking of Beth Diana Smith, also Rachel Moriarty. But when you see their Instagram, it's not the on-trend white with the grays and stuff. And they're boldly proclaiming, this is how I do this. This is what I do. And this is what I love to do. And they're not worried about the people who, don't like it, right? They're just like you said, niching down so much that, if you want color, you're going to look at a handful of people that stand out in that field that are doing color, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is why one of the reasons I really love working with interior designers as well, because in some senses, I don't feel there's too much competition if you really are, if you really portray what you do with your heart and soul in it. You're not going to compete with someone else because they just won't do something like you do.
Right. Now, in the five keys that you mentioned, help appear the five key goals that a blog post can aspire to be. Right, help appear in search engine search engines. So for optimization, help capture emails, sell something, drive lots of traffic. So maybe you're putting a teaser in your social media about the post, and you're driving people to the website to read it, and then position you as an expert in the field. My question is it, Fiona, that you approach each blog post with one of these as the primary objective? Like, we're not trying to, maybe, of course, every blog post should be search engine optimized, right? Should be SEO optimized, right? But are we trying to put all of this in every post, or you're like, no, like one or two in each post is good? Like, how do we think about that?
Okay, so I think going back to talking about, connecting with your ideal client in some way. The search thing is really, really important. And I think some people kind of overlook that in favor of their social media. And I think, the blog has a great way to position you in a way that social media can't, because what's the first thing that we do when we want to find out something, when we want to find some information, or we're looking for something to buy in our lives? Generally speaking, the first thing we do is we will go to Google and we will type that thing in, right? We'll type in whatever it is we're looking for. We'll go to Google. So you can be that person who appears in that search and answering those questions. And interior design, in one way, is an ideal kind of medium for this, because there's so many opportunities for you to catch that customer in that cycle, and we're talking about a customer cycle here, in the way that people buy things. First of all, they're kind of aware that they have a problem. So they have this problem, like, over the last year, you need to build a home office in your house because you've been at home more. That might be their problem. So they're going to go to Google and think, how can I design a home office? And that interior designer that's written that blog is going to come up. Maybe it's also optimized because it's in their local area, or because it's a particular type of architecture that they're looking for, a particular type of design style that they're looking for, that they've written about. That interior designer is going to come up. And then all the other things that are in the blog, they're going to come in time, because this is not, a one touch thing. You need to be building that authority. You need to be thinking. So they're going to go, oh, okay, well, this person, I like what they're writing about this here. So let's have another look around their business as well. So it's also really important that not only do you blog about your style and things that you enjoy in design and your projects and how your projects work. But it's important that you also talk about how your business works, how long you've been in business, why you're passionate about design, what are those kind of great jobs that you like, what about your team, and what about how the processes that you go through, what's it like working with you, and that you have a team in place, because in some ways this really kind of cuts out those inspo hunters, I call them, the people who are online looking for inspiration, but they're not really ready to hire a designer. But that's okay, because they're bringing traffic to your website, they're reading your content. That all has its purpose as well. I always say it's like a big wave. If you imagine those old Japanese prints of the wave, that are very artistic prints, and it's a big wave, and at the top is a kind of like a white froth. That's your customer there, but it takes all the other energy to push those sales through. So they're going to want to know that not only do you have the style, they're going to want to know how you run your business. They're going to want to know that they've got the money to spend with you, and that you have a team in place to make everything run effortlessly and smoothly, and take all the stress of them even having to think about this, just take that completely off the table. And that's who your ideal customer is, someone who's ready to hand over the money and let you do the service. And so it's really important that you blog about your business, I think, just as much as you blog about your style and, your design projects and what kind of furniture you like, and, where you work and things like that. So that's really important too.
I always appreciate that. If I am, investigating somebody that I might work with or whatever, I agree with you. I want to know about the back end. I want to know about the process, not like the boring nitty gritty details, but I do want that conversation, because, look, being someone that picks apart how a business is run every single day of the week, I want some confirmation or some hint that they have a clue on how to run the business that I'm about to interact with, right? And so that's me, and there's a lot of people like me, right, out there. But also, I think even if it's not something that's top of mind for other people, I think it just sort of hits you as a stranger and as a consumer that might not have thought past the pretty. And it's like, oh, this is complicated, doing an interior design project. I was a little nervous about it, but I didn't realize I was nervous about it. And now that I read how they've got the back end locked down, I'm already starting to feel like I might be in good hands, right?
Yeah, exactly that. It really does help, I think, to show that you've got all your processes in place, and that you put together successful projects with no stress. Let them just take the difficulties out of the emotions. And I think the longer you run your business, the easier that will be for you to sort of put into words and in a blog as well.
And are you, I'm a big fan of storytelling, of illustration, and of saying, this happened here. And is that is that one of those things where, hey, you're off in your creative writing jag here, that's not what to do in a blog? Or is telling the story about a challenge that we faced in a recent kitchen renovation and how we overcame it, is that good blog content?
Yeah, definitely. So, this is the problem. This is the solution, especially when you can illustrate that with great photographs as well. Their blogs can carry content that are really valuable to you that you wouldn't put on your social media so much. You might share like progress shots on your Instagram stories, but you're not going to put them on your Instagram feed. So they might get missed by people who don't originally follow you. But however, and this is one thing as well, I tell you, like the amount of designers who forget to take the before shot for the before and after. But that's really important, telling that story where you can say to someone, right, this is the problem that we had in this room. This door was in the wrong position, or this color wasn't working here, and this is how we solved it. And then you show them the fantastic after, but it's all about solving that problem, because they've they're on the internet searching because they have a problem.
Hmm.
You know, they might not know what the solution is to it yet, but they know that they have a problem. They know that they have something to fix. So that's why they're looking, you know. And in the first stage, what they're going to be looking for, and these are kind of really important blogs to write, is what they're going to be looking for is, you know, how is this all going to come about in my life? Okay, so what I want to know is, right, I want this kitchen renovated, right? How much is that going to cost me? How long is that going to take? What's the process of getting a designer involved in that? And, you know, what will be the outcome? You know, is it going to add value to my property? Is it going to make my life any easier? If you can answer those questions in a blog, because that's what they're initially looking for, you know, you can catch those people in the early cycle of their searching for you know, someone to work with, and then going on from there, you can display all the wonderful projects that you've done in other, you know, lead them then onto your portfolio to say you provide that proof of you having done this, you know, having achieved this.
You know, that's a great point. When you have enough blog content that, as you pointed out, the SEO, the titles, all the different things, the subheadings can speak to when the consumer enters the cycle before they commit, then you can, you know, like, so like exactly that, like, if I renovate my kitchen, will it add value to my house? Like, that's a horrible title, but you know what I mean. But the idea is, it's somebody hasn't done it yet. Somebody is thinking about it. Maybe it's one half of a relationship trying to convince the other partner that if we spend 100 grand on this kitchen, it's going to make our house worth 200 more thousand, right? And but if you get them in with that blog post, and then they see your portfolio, if of course it's also SEO optimized, then you have the chance of them really not looking any further and just falling in love with you and your services and your voice and possibly just hiring you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and even the geo thing, I mean, I know it's different over in the States because you're just so much bigger, but here in the UK, again, that I was referring to, you know, niching down so much, there's designers in the UK that are just sought after across the UK. I'm sure there is in you know, in the US too, just star people that will be paid to travel to do a project anywhere or anywhere in the world, even, you know.
Right.
So it is about, you know, finding people, putting that content out there that people who are looking for that specific thing, you know, niching down into the ideal client and putting that out there. And also just thinking about, as I said earlier, finding that stuff on Google, because people, I think, rely too heavily on what kind of marketing social media might bring them. And don't get me wrong, social media and Instagram and stuff, it's great. It's great. Shows you in your real light, and shows it's a real good opportunity to get behind the scenes of your business and show more of your business. But I mean, have you ever tried to search for any kind of useful information on Instagram with a hashtag, for example? I mean, it just doesn't happen. You're going to go to Google and you're going to type in what you want to know.
Right. Right. You might do it because you have got 15 minutes to spend because you're waiting for your kids in line, and you're going to just search what comes up on the hashtag, but you're not doing it for a thoughtful, I need content information right now. I agree with you. It's like you search the hashtag and it's like so much crazy stuff comes up, and it's like, what am I doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's also, you know, there's a motion of intention there, you know, search intent, in that people are actively looking for things, and that's where platforms like, you know, House and Pinterest work so well in terms of catching people, because they are geared towards people exactly that. You know, if you type in anything, any interior design search term, like, I don't know, like white kitchens or something in Google, I can guarantee you within the first five will be Pinterest and
Right.
House.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's because they have geared that content to that informational content that is out there. And also they're just huge platforms as well. So, you know, don't think you can step out tomorrow, write a blog and compete with Pinterest and House, but you can put your blog on Pinterest, you know.
Right. We've had guests that have talked about that. Like, you have it on your website, but you have it on Pinterest, and you write the right titles, do the right things, and then they find it on Pinterest, and then it brings them to your website, right, Fiona?
Yeah, absolutely that. And that's another great thing, another great reason to write blogs, is that if you have lots of blog content, you will never struggle for social media content on places like Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook,
Mm.
because you can write one blog post. Let's say you write a blog around, living room, choosing furniture for your living room. And then you can have the three different photographs from that. You can just choose three different photographs, and then you can bite size down that content into one day you put some content on Instagram about how to choose a sofa in the living room. One day you take out the part of the blog content that talks about the living room layout, and you put that on Facebook. You can choose multiple pictures and display them onto Pinterest so that people will find it through Pinterest. So it gives you so many more opportunities to get found and discovered because you're creating more of that content. And, interior designers are really visually heavy industry. And as content marketers, we are just like reliant on tons and tons of content and tons of visual. But if you can back that up with the, very knowledgeable information alongside that, it really does add a lot more value.
Absolutely. One of the things is I learned a lesson, and it goes to your write about the business that you want to do, right? That you want to have, the type of business that you want to have with the type of clients you want to have. But, taking it even just a step more narrow, write about the type of business the type of services that you want to sell. Because, oh my goodness, 6 years ago, when I was researching the podcast, and of course researching how to do a podcast and all the marketing and all of the ideas, I was also coming across lots of content that was informative and helpful in my other business, Window Works, which is a custom window treatment and awning business, Fiona. And so that was when I was like, oh, blog writing is really good for a business. Like maybe, I should set a time each week to do some blog writing for Window Works. And I said, and so now you learn. It says to you, well, what are the pain points that your consumer is going through? What is the thing that you solve? What is the question that they ask you? These are the things that you write about in a blog post. I was learning because this is what somebody's going to put in the Google search, right?
Yeah.
So in window treatments, transom windows are like the bane of everyone's life. They're awkward. Do you cover them? Do you not cover them? It's a pain in the neck, right? So I wrote this blog post on, how to, window treatments for transom windows. I cannot tell you, to this day, we still get inquiries from all over the world. Oh, I saw your blog post, but here's what happens. It's 98% DIYers. Now, WindowWorks is the furthest thing for the place you're going to call if you're going to DIY. You think you're a DIYer, right? And it's 16 pictures of their living room. I read your blog post. It's so amazing. Could you give me some suggestions? I'm telling you, we've probably had in 6 years 100 inquiries for that one post. And
Wow.
I'm just like, yeah, we don't really want to feel inquiries about transom windows. So, you gotta think about what do you want to put out there, because if it catches, it's what you're going to get asked, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I would advise that maybe you go and update that blog, because Google loves fresh content with,
Oh,
the fact that we are a custom workroom for the trade, and talk about that, and maybe get the right kind of clientele from it in that way. So yeah, you do have to be really careful with that. But and again, that's another way that you can drop your content around everywhere, in terms of people asking for your 2 cents of advice, and that they're never going to buy something from you. You can well, I've got a blog post about that. Here's some advice. If they don't buy from you, they were never your customer anyway.
right.
They were never your ideal client. But you don't have to be mean about it. You can still position yourself as the authority by saying, yeah, I know about that. Here's what I can share with you about that. And obviously, everything that you're going to put on your blog is, you can't do it for them for free. But
Right.
that's what your blog is there for. That's what it is. It's that amount of stuff that you're able to share with them for free to show that you're knowledgeable and experienced at things.
Yes. I mean, and the truth is, to your point, every inquiry we have to take seriously. because the person who is just asking the question about that one transom window, if they're well treated, well cared for, they might come back and say, now I'm ready to do my full living room. That was my kid's bedroom and I just needed a quick answer for that. Or they have a friend or relative that is in the market and they can say, this great company was so helpful. So yeah, no, I mark up their pictures and I write the suggestions and I email them back and I'm like, yay. I think we've actually had three local inquiries, and of the three, I think two converted into us actually selling them something for their transom window. But that's a lot versus the myriad of inquiries that we've just had to field and be nice about. So I just caution everybody, write about what you want to do, what your services are, because I was like, I hate transom windows. Everybody hates them. Let me write about transom windows. So I was attracting more transom windows into my life. Anyway, so let me ask you a couple of questions. When we think about the blog, in addition to all of these suggestions about content and the different ideas you were talking about, write your process, talk about your team, talk about your style, talk about a problem and a solution, have the before and after pictures. You're talking about how long will it take to do this sort of a project, talk about what kind of budget they can expect for this kind of project. And that you said to talk about, will it have value? What is the ROI of me doing a project like XYZ that you might mention in your blog? So these are great ideas. My question now is, do we have to blog every week? Can we blog once a month? Do we have to do it 3 times a week? I mean, if we're not looking to monetize the blog, you see, that's a whole different thing. We're not looking to monetize the blog. We're looking to attract actual human people to buy our full service interior projects, right? So how often does it matter?
It's really like anything in sort of marketing. The more you do it, the quicker you're going to get successful at it, the quicker you're going to get better at it, and the more visibility you're going to get, the more hits you're going to get to your website, simply the more content that you put out there. But that being said, I always say to people, just do what you can manage. I'm never going to have a go at people for just having a go. If you can only write one blog every 6 weeks, because that's not your main business in the world. You're an interior designer, you're busy at that. So, and everyone's at different stages of their business, aren't they? I mean, there is that old thing in business of the kind of trade-off between time and money. Sometimes you have lots of time where you don't have any work in, and you think, right, this is the time I'm going to get nailed down and get busy with my blog and really commit to being consistent on social media. And you might write 4 or 5 blogs. You might be able to put those out over the next couple of months, or you might have lots of work on and lots of money, but you understand that that's come from your social media content and your blog content. You're thinking, God, what I really need to do is get someone to write more blogs for me, and so you put money at it and you get someone to do it professionally for you. That's the thing. But what I would say is don't scare yourself into a commitment that you can't keep. Just go at it at your own pace. If you can only do 1 blog a month, that will be effective. If you can do 2 a month, that will be amazing. If you can do 1 every week, then you're just a superstar.
Right. Well, I've said often on the show, back in the day when we started our company and there was no internet and no any of the things, when you wanted to advertise, you called somebody and you paid them and you gave them money and they developed an ad for you and they put it in a magazine or a newspaper. And now we're supposed to be, designers, window treatment professionals, podcasters, and also marketing people. It's insane, right? And so, yeah, you got to do what you can do. And I also wonder if you ascribe to the theory that one quality post once a month is better than 4 posts that are not optimized, that are really rushed and just really don't have great content and are not really things that are going to attract and convert people. Is, of course, and I presented that question, how could you possibly pick one or the other? But you tell me your opinion on quantity versus quality.
That's an interesting one, actually, because, like I said earlier, Google loves fresh content. So, and you can like the example that you gave with your transom windows, you can never quite tell what's going to catch. You might never know. I mean, obviously, as professional writers, we spend a lot of time researching what we understand will catch, and we, and spend a lot of time working out what will bring people to the top results of Google. And it's always worth putting that research in there. But if you're just writing your blog yourself, I would say write on topics that that your clientele are going to want to read about. That's the most important thing. So don't be led to write about trends, because, or if you do, write from a place that means something to you and your business. You don't always have to love every trend that comes along. If you think a trend is awful and you wouldn't ever use it in your clients' homes, suggest an alternative and say, well, this trend is here and everywhere, but I prefer, or I think this is better. And that showcases your style. And again, your niche and how you do things. But you can never quite tell what's going to catch. But I think just write from a place of genuine value. And the thing that I always say to people when they're like, the first question of what do I write about, is write about the thing that you get asked most often. What's the number one question that you get asked all the time? And that can be different for everyone's business as well, according to, the type of client they serve or their location. But that number one thing, that's what people who want to work with you want to know. So write about that first and foremost.
And that's a good suggestion. And so what I heard in there is something to be said for quantity, is what you're saying. It's like feeding the googly guy enough information, and to your point when you said you don't know what will catch. So maybe you don't look at it and it's your your work of art blog post, but something in it caught, and just like that darn transom window thing caught the attention of all the search engines. So and somewhere in between, it sounds like it's like a certain number of quantity on a consistent basis is desirable, even if you're not like looking at each one as a complete work of art. Okay. And then how about length? Is there any, does it matter, or is it simply the title and the subheadings that are catching the googly guy's attention? So whether the Google gets there and there's 500 words or there's 3,000 words, it's not relevant. How does that work, Fiona?
Well, according to Google, not so recently, about, I don't know how many months ago I read this, but they say that it doesn't matter how long your blog post is. What matters is how relevant it is. When we write blogs, we research the competition, and we specifically look on how to outrank the blogs, because nothing and very, very little in this world is original content, original writing. So you really have to work really hard to find spaces in competitive niches or competitive search terms. So there are ways of finding, how many words it will benefit you. And they are different, but again, I would go by the Google advice of write what's relative. If it's just rambling on and on, just to fill some space and to be longer than the last person's blog post, it's not going to be, because people will just switch off,
Anyway.
People will not read all of it. And then you don't get to your purpose. You don't get to the bit where you say, well, if you're really interested in this, you can call me. Yeah.
So it sounds like, treat it like human beings, right? Like write something that's interesting and informative. And when you've done including interest in information, shut up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Put the pen down and walk away, right? Like, I mean, like you said, there's no, if we were to say, 1,500 words is optimal, then if all of a sudden we really nail a point in 800 words and we just add another 700 words because you said it, that's what you're saying. Like you're now just going to probably lose me, and I'm not going to get to the bottom where I ask you to call me.
Yeah. And also, I think it's really important to remember that some blog posts that we write are never really designed to perform in search. They're actually designed to bring attention through other ways, through social media shares or through sharing them through your email. And they're just as important. It might be like, an event that you're doing. It's a topical thing. Maybe it's happening in 2 weeks' time and you want to tell people about it. That's never going to get any kind of, motion in Google. because
Right.
it's just, it takes a while and it builds up over time, and things go up, things go down, but people still need to know about that event in 2 weeks. So you're going to be relying on different types of marketing to get people to that blog post. You're going to be relying on, your social media. You're going to be relying on your email. You're going to be relying on maybe, and talking on Clubhouse or podcasts or things like that. It, it's different. It's not a long piece of content, a piece of content that's designed for the long term, but that doesn't mean it's any less important.
Understood. Understood. So one of the questions is if we're inclined to write our blog posts ourselves, is there a guide or a how to or information on how to optimize it for search? Because I know with us at WindowWorks, we write the post. Some of us, maybe I write it, my daughter writes it, maybe Stephanie writes it, somebody writes it. But then it gets sent to Nicole Heimer at Curio Electro, and she optimizes it. She might retitle it. She'll put in subheadings, and she might change a little bit of words here and there because she's optimizing it for us. I don't think about that. How do people do that don't have somebody on retainer to do things like that?
Well, we do a lot of that. As I said, I help people in different ways, and I'm never going to stop people from just having a go, because I think it's really important, whatever stage of your business you're at, you focus in on your marketing. So, in my little guidebook that I wrote, the 365 blog post ideas, we do mention a little bit about, the best ways to make sure that your blog is successful, and not so much around the sort of the titles and the content and the topics that you're going to write about. We do give some guidance about that. However, I will caveat that by saying that, it's a long and invested process to learn how to do SEO. And it changes all the time. There's lots of stuff that you have to keep on top of. So, if you make that investment in a professional, then you are guaranteeing the best chances for your blog to succeed and rank in search. But if you are going to do it yourself, like anything, and we talked about the time and money trade-off, just invest a bit of money to make sure that you are making the most effective use of your time and doing things as well as you can do on your own. And invest in, don't invest in knowledge that's going to confuse you, that's about, SEO written by someone who writes really technical stuff. We write with our industry in mind, and we write, with writing about design in mind, and writing to interior design customers and homeowners in mind. So that is really certainly helpful to go down that road, just to give you some guidance on how to do it effectively.
Yeah. And it just so you know, what's funny is that Transom Post was what was before we were working with Nicole or anybody for search engine optimization. It was just a fluke. It was just a fluke. It was an absolute, lucky, slash fluke. But typically, I understand, like when you said, you're not going to necessarily teach yourself SEO. It is, it's like when a customer or a client says to an interior designer, "Oh, I think I can do my kitchen. I have good taste." And you're just like, "Really? You think that's what it takes to put a kitchen together?" Like, okay. It's a lot more that goes into it behind the scenes, and your craft and your expertise that you've honed over the years, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But, like I said, not everyone's at that stage in their business where they
Right.
can make those investments. So, just make smaller investments and know that you're making the best and most effective use of, the project that you're undertaking in your marketing.
Exactly. And then there was one question that I thought was interesting that I saw on your website is interior designers blog versus design bloggers blog. So I have a guess at what the difference is, but I thought I would just love for you to give us a little bit of an explanation about the two, and the function of the two different types, and probably the goals of the two different types, right?
Yeah. So go back to what I said earlier about, finding your ideal client, and, finding those people who are actually going to purchase for you versus those inspo hunters. So interior design bloggers have a different goal in mind. They are looking for lots and lots of traffic, because I think the main difference with an interior design blogger is before they put anything on that page of their blog, it's already been paid for.
You mean a
Okay.
design blogger, not an interior
Uh,
design? Yeah,
yeah, a
yeah, yeah,
design blogger,
yeah.
as in like an influencer, so
Right.
more social media focused design blogger rather than interior designer. Before they write anything on their page, it's already been paid for. It's either been sponsored by a company to write about that product, or it may be an inspo post where they're talking about a certain type of room or a certain style, and you can guarantee there will be a whole list of products that you can buy attached to that blog post that every click through and purchase, they will make a commission on that sale. So that for me is the main difference is that is what we call monetized. Okay. So it's either been paid for or it's going to make them money. Whereas as an interior designer, you've actually got to work doubly hard, really, because you've got to not only get that traffic, write something that's interesting and it's going to work in search and get that traffic. Then you've got to go through that optimization process in that it makes the user click on and call you or subscribe to your email newsletter or get more interested in and follow you on social media and achieve those goals that we talked about earlier and eventually lead to that kind of long touch point where you're always in forefront of their mind when they're ready to make that decision to do that renovation or whatever it is that they're doing in their home. You're the person that they're going to choose. So you have to work harder in that sense.
Mm. And it's true. I mean, what's so funny is I've had a lot of conversations with designers who are able to put a foot in both worlds, that literally are doing full service in-person interior design services, and then also have monetized their blogs, have created a following year after year, month after month, year after year, and have gotten it to a point where either it's a couple of $100s a month, which pays them gas and dinner once a month, or it's more than that, several hundred or a couple of thousand a month. And it's a funny thing because I feel like sometimes you start out that there's a feeling of starting out as an interior designer who's going to approach having a consistent blog. And then you do it and you get good at it and you get some traction. And then all of a sudden you're tempted to monetize it. Like you think to yourself, why not? It's a passive income. It's going to come in over here. But then it becomes this own business and its own beast that literally is it's not at odds with your original business, but it is its own little eco business there. And then I think it becomes decision time. Am I pouring my heart and soul here? Am I pouring my heart and soul here? And if you are somewhat seasoned and you can increase your team a little bit and either put more resources to the designing part of the business or more resources to the blogging part of the business, then maybe you can grow both. But it's it's a fork in the road, right?
Yeah, I would say to anyone, do not underestimate what it takes to grow a successful business based on content.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of monetizing just online content and not actually providing some sort of physical service. The natural step for most people is to start, maybe in terms of the interior design world, is maybe start an online shop. Or maybe start with putting in affiliate links. But if you really want that to become a worthwhile income, you need to treat that as a separate business.
Right.
Like you said, you need to work on that as well. And I think some people maybe underestimate that when they think that that's the route that they're gonna go down. And I think also, some people can get lucky with great following, but it all comes down to having amazing content. If you have good quality content, you will grow your following quicker than sort of begging people to read your content, because people will just come there, they will find it, they will love it, they will recommend it to their friends, they will share it, and it just naturally grows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had Megan Moulton on recently, and she is a young lady who started her interior design firm. I think it might be 3 years ago at this point. I don't think it's longer than that. And right away, she made a big splash on Instagram. She's a terrific lady and has a great like niched style, to your point, right? Like you'd see it's a Megan Moulton room type of a thing. And then all of a sudden people were asking her, where can I get that lamp? Where can I get this? And so then she decided to go into e-commerce. And I just had an interview with her, like I said recently, where we caught up after 2 years. And yes, it's a full other business with a staff, with a building, with a thing, and so it's never to discourage and it's never to say, oh, not a great idea. But to me, when people ask me personally, do you think I should do this? I sometimes say, well, do you think you should open a bakery? Like, they look at me like, what are you talking about? I'm like, so the things aren't going to be donuts, but the things are going to be things that you sell. And it's a whole different distribution channel. It's all the different, you have to worry about, when do they get delivered? And the donuts, are they stale when they get there? Is the lamps cracked when they get there? Like, you need a whole process for it. You just don't throw some pictures up on Instagram and it links back to your website and you magically make $50 while you're sleeping, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, go back to fundamental business lessons, set a goal. What is your
Set
goal?
a goal. Right.
Is your goal to have clients contact you and ask you to do some interior design in your home, or is your goal to make, $50 a time selling a lamp?
Right.
Both of those are goals, but they each have very different strategies involved with them in the online world. So yeah, you need to focus in.
And we have had many designers who are successful at both. I'm thinking of Megan and Bria Hamill. There's many that have been able to do it, but in the conversation, they tell me point blank just what I suspected. Oh yeah, completely different business, completely different animal, needs a whole different team structure, a whole different vertical, needs all completely different things. The only thing that connects them is that, in my regular interior design business, I can sell those products. You know what I'm saying? So, which is a great thing. That is a good thing, right? So, so interesting and so much great information. I would love for you have a free download for designers if they want to take advantage of it. And then you also mentioned the other download, which is a paid version. Would you tell us about each and where do we access them, Fiona?
Yeah, sure. So if you want to find out more, so my blog is at mydecomarketing.com. There's tons of information on the blog there about various different things, content, blog writing, Instagram tips, all of that's on there. There's also a resources section. If you look in the menu, you'll find a resources section where I've got some free downloads on to help you on things like growing your blog and getting used to using Pinterest. And also there's an e-learning section. And in that, I've got a little booklet, which people love. People buy this and they write me the next day saying, I bought your book this morning and I've just written the first blog post that I've been meaning to write for 6 months. And those messages really do cheer my heart. So there's the e-learning section, and up there right now is a little book called 365 Blog Post Ideas for Interior Designers. And that does exactly what it says on the front cover. It gives you a blog post idea for every day. And as I've talked about with Luann, it gives you titles that really capture those things that we talked about today. So, how to write blogs that will catch people in that awareness phase when they're searching for, should I do this renovation? And then how to write blogs that give people a sense of your experience and authority in your business and your knowledge, and then how to write things about styles. And then it's got a whole list of blogs that you can write for every single room in the house. And then, one of the challenges that people always say to me from their social media and for their blogs is, well, I want to put on my website, I want to display my best thing, right? My best thing, which is a finished project. So there's a lot of things about, how to write that, but also the fact is you might be working on a huge house and you might not, or you might not just have 1 or 2 projects a year that get to that finished stage, depending on how busy you are, how big your projects are. So the big question is, what do you write in between? What do you post on social media in between? And this really answers a lot of those questions about how to cover that, and gives you ideas of other things that you can write about that really showcase how you live with design, how design is inherent in everything that you do.
Love it. I love it. And so, of course, the obvious is that we can access this information, both the free and some of the paid information, but also we can reach out, like you said, it's we pay in time or money. If somebody would prefer to hire you, and into that point, Fiona, I'm make an assumption that you have. Look, the podcast is going to 120 countries, right? But of course, the largest demographic is the U.S. and Canada. Writing a blog for design, whether they're in the UK, the US, Australia, is all similar. Like, so people from all over the world could reach out to you and you can help them.
Yeah, we have technology. It relies on technology.
I meant more perspective is what I meant. I meant more perspective. Like, I have actually, as I was asking, I'm thinking she's going to say, Luann, I have remote teams, remote writers that live in the U.S. and they actually are Americans and know what you do over there.
Do you know what? I wish I did. I do have people that help me here, but I still read every single post. I still, put every single post goes through me.
Wow.
And of course, it's not just me. I work with a lot of people, but we do work really hard to make sure our blog posts do the best for our customers. So yeah.
Very exciting, very exciting. And I love the little feature. When I was on your website, it was popping up. It was almost like when you go to Las Vegas and the ding, ding, ding is ringing, like somebody won a jackpot. As I'm reading your website, the little things popping up. Brisbane, Australia, bought the 365, blog post. And it was like, ba-da-da-da, bought that. I was like, oh, that's so clever. Because it makes you go, oh, wait, I need that too.
I love that. I used to, when I first launched the little book, I used to have that on my phone, and it used to really cheer me up. I sort of switch it off now, but yeah, it's a nice little reminder that your hard work is coming to fruition.
And it also works on the other side as the user experience. I'm like, oh, that thing must be good. And I was so busy reading the About You page and all the other things. I'm thinking, I'll get there, but I was like, I gotta get there. So fun. Thank you, Fiona. I really appreciate all of your expertise today. I know that you've given us some good ideas if we want to do it ourselves. And that's really what's always so important to me, that we serve all of the people listening to the show at every space and level that they come to us. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, you're very, very welcome. Also, I'm kind of busy. I'm always quite busy on Instagram as well. You can follow me over there at fiona.mostyn. And I'm also writing not just about blogging, about other types of social media as well, and other kind of industry news as well. So that's always worth dipping into.
That's terrific. And that's FIONA.MOSTYN, correct?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Fiona. You have a great day.
Thank you, Luann. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
The blog is something I think most of us by now know that we need. We've been told it often enough, right? We've been told that it helps with search engine and traffic driving, right? We're told to do it every week and it should be so many characters. And we've been explained how it plays into our overall marketing plan. But I wonder how many of us are actually digging into the purposes that Fiona laid out for us today, right? I venture to say that many of us are missing that big piece of the puzzle, which is beginning with the goal in mind. And it shouldn't surprise us. It's everything we do. What is our why? Why do we want to do this, right? Just like when you're designing a home or a single room in a home, you wouldn't just start picking things without knowing the overall goal of the style and the space and what you want it to be like at the end. And obviously, what Fiona is saying is the same principle applies to blogging, right? Now, when you do know your goal and purpose, whether it's for blogging or designing, what does it do? It makes it more efficient. It makes it easier, right? It gets you to the end result that you want better, faster, because we actually know what the end result we want is, right? So if you're sitting down and you're writing a blog and you know that your goal is to rank with the search engines, well, maybe you're going to write that differently than if you were sitting down and explaining the process of how to pick a sofa, right? The goal gives you guidance and it helps move you in that direction. Now, Fiona explained 5 potential purposes for a blog post: SEO optimization, generating leads, driving traffic, selling something, and positioning yourself as an expert. And we here thought that they were so important and that we could all use the reminder of these when we sit down to write our next blog post. So we made them into a goodie for you. You can get that download at luannniagara.com/goodies. And then you will have this little cheat sheet handy the next time you sit down to write a blog post, okay? One thing that Fiona emphasized that I too want to highlight is the idea of niching down. She pointed it out. When you do niche down, when you become the go-to in your area, you really just reduce the competition to the point where you possibly don't have any, right? And we've talked on the show about niching and how it can be scary, especially when you first start to niche, whether you've been in business years or minutes. That first niching, as we've, had enough people tell us that it's scary, right? The idea of eliminating work seems like you're closing doors on doors that you kind of want to stay open. But we've seen time and time again that when you narrow your focus, you open up the opportunities. And the quote that Fiona loved was, niche down so much that you're not only the best option for the people you want to attract, you're the only option. And you know what? She explained we can use our blog to help us stand out and to be that go-to expert in whatever niche we decide to serve. All right, that's a well-designed business in action, isn't it? Strategically going after the work you want while using your blog to not only help you with your marketing, but also to bolster you in your niche. I love it. All right. I just think that she had so much great advice, and I appreciated her insight into how often to blog, that there is a balance of quantity and quality, and that relevant content is more important than length. We hear so many different ideas about these things, and hearing from Fiona with her expert experience is so valuable. All right. And I want to say before we end today, I want to encourage you to think about writing, especially SEO, as something that you might want to think about outsourcing, right? SEO in particular is not something you're going to just stumble into and figure out on your own. It takes years of learning and constant monitoring the changes, the algorithms, and the advice. There is a time and money trade-off that matters, and also a goal. Again, the goal. Like, is it your goal to be an expert in this, or is it your goal to write a good post, right, that displays who you are and what your expertise is, okay? And I have to say, if you want to rise in the ranks of Google and optimize those best practices, it does pay to bring in an expert to do it for you. All right. We have to, we expect our clients to hire us as experts, right? And I know that at WindowWorks and here at Luann Niagara Inc., we have good writers between myself, my daughter Christy, guest bloggers like Sarah Brennan, and in the past at WindowWorks, Laura Thurman has guest blogged. But we always take those blog posts, no matter who has written them, and we turn them over either to Nicole Heimer at Curio Electro or Stephanie Hamilton of Hamilton Creatives, and they put the SEO touch on it, right? We may do the writing, but they do the optimizing. So, and this is, of course, what Fiona does for her clients as well. And I also want to call your attention back to episode number 650 with Sarah Barney. She went in detail in explaining how when she opened her brand new business from moving from a different area and went and opened up her brand new interior design firm, how she built the foundation of her business on SEO optimizing. She literally attributed like that as one of the number one things that she thinks helped put her on the map in her new business in the new area. So check it out. All right. Thank you again to Fiona for all of your advice today. Really appreciate it. And if you want to learn more from her or about her, don't forget that she has a free section of resources on her website, mydecomarketing.com. mydecomarketing.com, mydecomarketing.com. And she also has the paid learning section where you can go and purchase her ebook, the 365 blog posts for interior designers. Go see what you can learn from Fiona. I don't think you'll be disappointed. All righty. Thank you for listening today. I really appreciate that you show up. I value that you do that, and I am grateful to every way that you share with me that the show is working. In just the last 2 days, I got a text from a designer. Thank you, Michelle. I got DMs from others. I got emails from others. And of course, the iTunes reviews coming in as well. So it's just so, it's just so amazing and it's so cool. And I appreciate it. Thank you. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at luannigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.